Okay, gentlemen, we'll call the meeting to order for the very last time. I'd sure like to thank Carl and Rick and Jim for the great job that they've done these last few years under difficult circumstances, running all the meetings, keeping the club together. Great job done. I'm going to ask you to have stories, to stand up and tell us stories. We're going to look through the Musgrave poems, and there's probably some poems in there to be read. There's pictures on the back tables for you to look through. Thanks to the QLEX and others that brought big stacks of photos. And we'll have some music. So to start it off, I'll tell you the story that I told at the last meeting for some of the Joe Kulak, who was the unofficial chairman of the board of this club for years, one day announced that we were going to have a liars contest, and that he had $100 for the winner of the liars contest. And it'd run for 2 or 3 weeks, and so all the boys get ready with their big fables, and it's time to announce the winner. And Joe says, well, I won the contest. You won the contest, you haven't even made an entry yet. He says, yeah, I have. There was no $100 bill. So that we know everybody that's here, we'll start with this table over there where Mr. Kelly is. Introduce yourself.
Mike Kelly, I'm 48. Oh, wait a minute. I was born in 48, that's right. I just retired from the World Herald after 48 years there, just a few months ago. Thanks.
I'm Judy Sealer. I'm the accompanist, and I was telling Bruce earlier, I have come full circle. I retired last year from being a nursing home administrator for 35 years. Before that, I coordinated worship services and funerals seriously, at Millard Good Samaritan Center. And so I haven't really done anything different with my life for 35 years. I'm still doing the same damn thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Dan Kulak, been a proud member of OBMA since I think 1985, when my father passed away, actually. And the 2 dogs and my brother probably recruited me at that time. But everything has to come to an end, but I'm sure proud that I was available to be a member of this great club. Thank you.
Burns.
Dan Burns. I'm probably the youngest member. I've been a member for 4 years. And I'm a retired pharmacist, director of pharmacy at Burnham Mercy Hospital.
I joined about 12 or 13 years ago when I retired from my practice, and I've enjoyed everything about it. It's been great. Good club. I'd gone to several meetings before over the years, but I flew around to the country too much, so I could never be here on Thursday.
George, you're a slow learner, right?
George?
Say your name,
Very
George.
warned about the club, and you still join.
My name's George Stryker. I've been a member after my dad. He was a member beforehand, and he ran it better than I did.
Yeah, and his father used to have a drawing for some prizes in President's Month, and it was all junk that he brought out of his basement that nobody would want to take home. But by golly, one year he brought something. It had a little value to it. It was a radio or something. And guess who won it? Cush won it, and he took it back home. Paul, your turn.
I'm Paul White. I think I joined, my father and I, Mel Olson got us in here, the Olson Sheet Metal Company. About in the 70s, late 70s, early 80s. Father died, Mel died, all the other guys died too. This club.
That's why I heard Heafy's today.
Is he working or is he?
Now, he had to go to a meeting.
He had to go to a funeral. Make sure it's not his, that's what he has to make sure.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Bill Sarton. I joined probably 20-some years ago, don't remember, and I kind of dropped out, and then I came back. And I don't know where I am now, but I don't think I belong.
Don't worry, John, this is the last meeting anyway. You can't come back.
I'm Tom Connolly, and I think I'm the last person to join this club, and I think that's why I failed.
I'm Jim Norton. I joined in the 80s. Gary Peterson got me into this. And then I couldn't make it because of my business. My daughter had a lot of health issues. And then my good friend Bruce Haney said, Jim, you need to start going again. So I owe both those guys. But I got to tell you, just being with everyone here and the fellowship, I'm going to really miss it. You guys are special, and young ladies are a special group of people. Thank you.
Good friend.
Rick Sandvig, Gary Peterson also brought me in. That had been about '04, I think it was, when I joined. Then I got real busy with teaching and had to leave for a few years. Retired a second time and came back. But Peterson led me astray quite often.
I'm Zach Botchek. I'm probably younger members, I guess. And Rick brought me in a couple years ago, but it's been awesome getting to meet all you guys, hear the stories. It's so cool. So cool to see where this club's been and beyond.
We'll start back there, John, the man of the year.
John Prouty. I didn't get to join, well, Jim got, being the oldest, got the birthright. And so I couldn't join until our father passed. And that was a whole lot of many years ago. And I was honored to be your man of the year.
I want to introduce my wife, Carol Prouty, and she's here because my Thursdays are gonna be freed up, and she's letting me know that I missed a lot of it. Carol, do you want to expand on that?
Well, after all those Thursdays of eating by myself, finally we're going to eat together on Thursday. And thank the club for having me 2 weeks in a row. I got 2 lunches out of you.
And now I'd like to introduce our business partner, Blanca Mejia. Blanca's been here as a speaker and last week. And thank you for coming, Blanca.
On Cinco de Mayo celebration 2 times. We have you there in South Omaha. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, Jim, for letting me introduce to present my organization. Thank you for making me feel welcome. You know, I know that Jim, John, and Bruce want to miss this group because I remember every Thursday, Jim ready. You know, I have to be there. I really enjoy these guys, so we will miss you.
Okay. The quiet man, Ryan, would you start your table off?
Wait, you got 2 at the table. Whoa. You can't see those young guys?
Matthew.
Put your glasses on.
I joined maybe 7-8 years ago, and then 5 years ago, I stopped coming. different deal, but I always loved the group, and it's good to see you guys.
All right. David Cole, I joined a while ago, and I've come off and on for several years, and then I stopped for a while, thanks to Ryan. It's his fault.
Okay.
But some of the meetings I went to, we met great people, great camaraderie, and we really appreciate what you guys are doing, and thank you.
John?
John Renane, good to see everybody. Great to be back for this one last time. Ryan brought me in many years ago, and just have appreciated getting to know all the different things about Omaha and people's stories and funny quips here and there.
I'm Matt Rush. Ryan also, probably 2006, 2007, Ryan got me to join, and it's been a great group. With my job, I travel around the state a lot and record a lot on, so I've never been able to be very consistent on coming on Thursdays, but it's a great group and appreciate everything that this group has done.
Ryan Haney brought me into the group. Oh no, I'm sorry, Bruce Haney brought me into the group. Bruce is, of course, my father. I've been involved for 20 years maybe into this group, reluctantly. And I remember as a kid, Dad always coming to these meetings talking about the OBMA and all the guys you meet. None of them are here, but he talked about other guys. So it's been a good run.
I do want to thank Ryan for his efforts to revive the club and the years that and hard work that he put into it.
What was the term we used? Do you remember? You were trying to euthanize OBMA.
Ryan has a secret. Anyway, thank you, Ryan, for all that you did for the club.
Good afternoon, I'm Cecil Hicks. I'm also one of Ryan's recruits. I joined how many years ago? Maybe a couple years ago. Mostly, I was a hit and miss, mostly a miss member. But the times that I was here, I really enjoyed the speakers and getting to know a lot of people. And it's a really, really good group. We're really sad to see it go away. Thank you.
And I'm Carl Fosco, and I'm sure some of you know me from the last year here at work, but I'm also a Ryan referral. Since 2014, my dad and I joined, and it's been a great time being both an attendee and helping out with the organization. I appreciate the company.
With that, Kenny, start with you.
Dad's going to introduce.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right. Go ahead.
What's that?
Stand up and say who you are. Stand up and say who you are.
I'm South D. Fosco, World War II veteran. I've gone to the Battle of Bulge. I'm still hanging around and causing trouble.
Jack Atkins, I joined when we were meeting up at the President's Club on 60th Street. I was past president for 2 years. The best memory I have at the President's Club is we started the meeting off with $1 Bloody Marys. And after that program quit, the attendance started. Also, I remember years ago, I got to pay respect to a good friend of mine and a longtime member here, Frank Weir. Many years ago, I was just a young guy. Frank Weir invited me to OBMA, I believe, when you met at the Castle Hotel. Is that correct?
That's right, yeah.
I remember going to the meeting several times with Frank down at the Castle. So since my office was clear out on Dodge Street, it was hard for me to get down to the Castle. But I've enjoyed my time with OBMA.
I'm Pat Kenny, retired radiologist. My father-in-law always thought I made radios. Tom Kudlick and Bernie Cradaville got me into this infamous club in 1977. Been a regular member ever since. Then we used to meet out at the bowling alley. Who was the guy that owned that bowling alley? He used to get
Ranch Bowl. Oh, the Ranch Bowl, Zygmunt.
Yeah.
I.B. Zygmunt.
He used to get in trouble with the law. But then we engineered the move to the President's Room on 60th and Grover. We had some real characters in this club. I was president that year, and I'm up there trying to do something, do some business, tell a story, and the door opened, and a couple of the guys wheeled in a hearse, a coffin, and wheeled it up to the front. I thought, my God, what the hell? And opened up the coffin. This good-looking gal came out. So there were a lot of great things that happened in this club, and I enjoyed every minute. Enjoyed every minute.
I'm Dick Hudlick, and I haven't been a member as long as some of you have, but Rudy Teaser got me involved a couple of years ago. Rudy's fishing this week in Canada, so, but I've enjoyed the membership and the programs you had and the speakers very, very much, very interested. Thank you very much.
I'm another Cudlec. I'm Tom. I came into this club in about 1970, I think, and I was fortunate to come in with my dad and got to see him work and all the stuff he did for the club. And it's been a wonderful, wonderful ride. I'm past president too. I was 1978, I think it was. And also man of the year in 1998, and I'm the only guy that never showed up. Man of the year that never got there. But it's been a wonderful time, and I'm gonna miss all you guys. Had a lot, just, there were, like somebody said, there were some characters, believe me. Some great guys. We had a lot of fun. Hey, Tom Heafy didn't show either. Yeah. That's right, 2 Toms.
That's what killed the deal.
I'm Mike Pritchard. Tom brought me in about 10 years ago and met a lot of good people, but I'll always remember check dates. Those were the great days.
I'm Doug Little. Bernie Cradaville showed me a roster of 1969. My name was in it. I looked at it, nobody is in that roster. Very few of them are even on the planet Earth right now. I think I joined in 62 or 63. We used to be at the Fontenelle Hotel. Any of you remember that?
No.
Yeah, we were in the Fontenelle Hotel. I remember I worked for IBM at the time, so I had to have my red tie and my white shirt and my suit. And they met at noon, and at 11 they all were there drinking martinis. Casher, or what was it? Casher, Joe Cashin and Tom Burke, all the attorneys met there early to have their martinis. So I left, I went to the castle and stayed on for a while, and then left after that, never came back. I think I attended a couple meetings as guest, but I really enjoyed my time here. Thank you.
I'm Bernie Cradaville. When I look back at all the people that belong to this club, Rudy Teaser and Joe Kudlick and Art Prouty were probably the prominent ones. And I tell you that Carl ought to fit right in there with those guys because he's done a lot just to keep the club going the last few years. I've got a booklet here. I imagine a lot of you have this on Bill Musgrave's poems. If you got a minute or so, I'd like to read what Bill wrote here.
You want the mic?
Yeah. This was our 75th anniversary. We had a big meeting at Anthony's, and he wrote here, "We've waited a while for this year to arrive. A year we can count is 75. Well, now it's 86. 86 years of handshakes and smiles. That's a long trip if you measure in miles. Miles filled with luncheons, speakers, and jokes. Oh yes, some members are comical folks. We always have a joke-telling time. You might say that some are less than sublime. We started downtown at the Rome Hotel. It wasn't the Fontenelle, Doug, it was the Rome. We started downtown at the Rome Hotel. Lunch at the Rome was considered quite swell. We moved to the Castle Hotel up the street, and that's where we really planted our feet. We had weekly speakers we welcomed and fed. They had to be good, or we threw them the bread. There was plenty of room for parking your car, but members had problems getting out of the bar. We finally departed, but still on a roll. We found a new place they called the Ranch Bowl. We had some great years, but we had to depart. It's being replaced by a brand new Walmart. We migrated then to the President's Room, and Swanson's food did weekly consume. Our members rotated as being bartenders. They all qualified as free elbow benders. We moved once again to our present location for food and fellowship, perhaps a libation. It's Anthony's now for luncheon and laughter, and jokes among us with the wit ever after. Get page 2 here. But some time ago we decided to heed a call from an army that helps those in need. Each Christmas we tickle the bells for donation. The Salvation Army is our chosen vocation. Our generous members will likewise help to fill the donation pots that pay for goodwill. And once every year we also select our man of the year being he Swedish, German, or Czech. It's a great moment to pause and recall the many great times. We just had a ball. Events and the speakers, the jokes and the laughter seem never to stop when on ever after. But that same reflection will shine on our future, a future we all plan to help and to nurture. OBMA plans at least to survive another even-filled 75. Bill Musgrave.
Bernie, I see you got more marked there. Would you read some others to us a little later, or right now? Yeah, read us a few of them.
I got some good ones in here. I'll sit there. One of our longtime members was Bill Bloom, and this was written back in 1990. It says, well, after 3 or 4 stiff shots of gin poured over ice. Well, here's what I should have read ahead of it. A guy came up to the bar because Bill Bloom was the bartender. And he says, I'll take a dry martini, use a gin of 80 proof, then olives anchored on a pick, a swimming of vermouth. The senior bartender turned to me, and solemn as a sphinx, and in the voice disdainful said, "We don't serve fancy drinks." Well, after 3 or 4 stiff shots of gin poured over ice, I got to talking to him, and it turned out rather nice. He told me how he played baseball, his turn upon the mound, and how the Babe and Gehrig bid the audience astound. I asked him what his name was. He poured without a spill. He said they still call me SOB. It stands for Sweet Old Bill. That was Bill Bloom. Of course, he's gone. Let me take a look through this here, and then I'll pick out another couple.
My name's Jim Prouty. I joined when I got out of the Army in 1968. My dad and Joe Kudelek and Kenny Schneider went to Clarence Shaw and Joe Shepard all on Farnham Street. And I think we said we sell wholesale in Lower Farnham in those days. Kudelek was just building the building out there at that time. And one of the better talking about Bill Bloom as a bartender. Before that, Dr. Kogan, Dennis, was a bartender for years. We started having a bar down at the castle. I don't know if you guys remember the Western Hole Room, that's the bar. And the guys would meet in the bar, and my dad was the president, and the speaker would be sitting in an empty room, and everybody was in the bar. And then all of a sudden, here come a bunch of people in there. So, I don't know, it was Kudelek and Shaw and Schneider, when they decided they're going to sponsor the bar and they'll keep the people out of the Western Hole and come in the bar. And so in the bulletin it'd say FB, and that standard for free bar. And we get people to sponsor that bar, and it went on and on and on. Doc Kogan finally died. He'd mix a drink, and he'd start shaking like this and hand it to you. And Jesus, Jimmy, this is a good one.
He was a dentist.
He was a dentist too. So,
Well, here we are at Heafy's, and Leo Hoffman used to be a good faithful member. And in the old days, everybody would get up and introduce themselves and say what they did. And Leo would always get up and he'd say, "I'm the last guy to go in the hole for you."
He was a mortician.
Name's on the door of this place. Well, here's one that I found on page 2. It's about 20 pages in. It says page 2. Anyway, and Germans are a good group. They also feast on kraut. And some may be reliable. Of that, there's no doubt. But there's an ethnic body that rates beyond compare of singular intelligence that one may find quite rare. A certain group that does stand out, a cut above the rest. They score above average in any kind of test. A nationality that is both simple and complex. They're often referred to as ever-loving Czechs. As promised, we've eliminated everyone but one who thinks that eating out of cans is nourishing and fun. He'll be here when you need him. He'll sit your arm or your leg, and he'll tell you about the rental car that he drove and wrecked in Prague. So come on up front and sit down, 3 down, and tell us a story of splits and slings and other things. This is obligatory. No bones about or honorary. He'll patch up his or her knee. Some people call him Krakow. We just call him Bernie. Are there some stories?
How many people here were past president or man of the year?
Every one of them. I think there's a poem about that.
I do have one funny story.
Great.
Years before I joined, I moved up here in '73, and it was either at the Ranch Bowl or at the President's Room. It was the first meeting I came as a guest. And it was the only club meeting I'd ever been to where, I can't even say this hardly, the guy that was speaking, and then everybody started throwing rolls at
We didn't like it.
I joined many years later.
Well, you know what happened, there's some lady goes like the falls, says, with all the poor people around and the people starving and everything, they're throwing rolls. Well, Joe Kubelik wrote back. Oh, I see. He said, we have contributed $4,000 to $5,000 a year to the Salvation Army.
Yeah. Hey, Bruce?
Yeah.
I got an interesting story. Would be amiss not to mention Czech Day, of course, the highlight of the year.
Right.
And Coach Tennefer came down to Czech Day for, I think, 32 years in a row. But he told me a story one afternoon after the meeting was over, where he was flying around with Coach Osborne on recruiting. And they were in some airport, and Barry Switzer showed up. Coach Switzer from Oklahoma. And he knew Milt very well. They were buddies. And so Milt and Barry were discussing football, and he goes, well, where's Coach Tom Osborne? He's usually with you. And he goes, well, this is before cell phones, by the way. So he's on the telephone trying to get a hold of some recruits. Remember the bank or telephone at airports? And so Switzer sneaks up behind Osborne without him knowing. And Osborne had a book of all of his recruits. And he had sat next to him on the phone, and Switzer snuck it out, took it back, and was paging through it, and Osborne hangs up his phone, and he's looking for his book. He's not had a heart attack, and it was gone. And he turns around and sees Switzer. What the hell are you doing with my book? Switzer, give me that book back. He goes, no problem. I've talked to all these players and they're not worth a damn.
John.
The year that I was president, it was at the president's room, and it was a free bar, and we had one member who was always there first, and when you're president, you're looking out amongst the people, and this guy would eventually fall asleep, and at one time he fell out of his chair.
We call that chair diving.
Yeah.
I've got one here.
Bernie's got one here.
This is a problem with all orders, background noise prevention. To gain and hold while the story's told, the crowd's complete attention. It's always been a problem for speakers back to Moses. when someone's talking down in front or simply sits and dozes. 7 years ago was how old Abe achieved it, with Romans, friends and countrymen, Mark Antony bereaved it. Now Hitler tried the outstretched arm, and Churchill tried the V, while Geraldine Ferraro tried femininity. Now some may use the upraised palm, or turn their heads face down, or will emote by clearing the throat, or simply stand and frown. But when decorum disappears and order starts unraveling, most podium practitioners resort to heavy graveling. But I submit there is some twit who makes me burn and bristle, who calls us to attention by blowing on his whistle. You had the whistle, remember you used to blow it?
Sure. Is that it?
We all ask that same thing in our own heads.
Let me tell the story about Cradleville. Well, actually, it's about Moore Wells. You guys remember Moore Wells, the band leader? Great guy, great addition to the club. And he had a bad knee. He talked to Bernie about it, and Bernie said, well, we're going to have to operate. So they scheduled him for a certain day, and Bernie called me on a Sunday, and he said, come on over to my office. I want you to review his x-rays. So I went over there, and Bernie had x-rays. And he said, what do you think? And I said, boy, that's the worst looking joint I've ever seen. And Bernie said, yeah, I know that, but how about his knee? Remember that? And then a couple months afterwards, Bernie had arranged to have the whole procedure videotaped, the surgery and everything. And who was the bartender, the assistant bartender to Bill Bloom? He was sitting there.
Bernie Pearson? Yeah, Bernie Pearson.
Who?
Bernie Pearson. Yeah, Bernie Pearson was.
Bernie Pearson. He's sitting there watching the movie of Cradwell cutting through the flesh and the bone and putting the knee in. All of a sudden, boom! Bernie hits the floor. People said, my God, he's had a heart attack. Call 911. I said, no, his pulse is okay. He's all right. He just fainted.
Another one about Moore, I think we had the mayor, or maybe it was the mayor, one of them took the pat of butter and put it, I think it was on Moore's coat, sport coat, and I think it was Gene Leahy, yeah. Any other stories? We'll give it to Kelly.
Some of you probably don't remember Burge Campbell. He was our treasurer for 35 years. And every year he'd give a report, treasurer's report. And he'd say, well, he says, we took in some money this year, and we spent some of it, and we've got a little bit left. That's it.
Speaking of that, there's a little kitty as we close out the club, there's a little balance left, and that balance will go to the Salvation Army. And then also, as you may have seen, Don Smith, our long-coming member, died last week. They haven't set the services yet, but in the obit, for in memoriam, checks to Omaha Businessmen's Association. That's the first time that's ever happened, and it'll probably bring in thousands, don't you imagine?
Well, it brought in one, and but Larry Smith, he's an insurance guy, saw the ad about us folding the club, and said he didn't know who he should give the check to. And I said, well, give it to me. And he said, I'm not giving anything now.
Okay, without that ado, we will turn it over to Mike Kelly for some music.
All right.
Judy.
Thank you, Bruce. Enjoyed all your stories. Good job, Bruce, and everybody. And I was honored to get to attend some meetings. I didn't even speak 2 or 3 times over the years. Glad I mentioned, although D-Day was a huge, important battle of the Bulge, of course. Wow, how'd you make it through that winter? But thank you for doing so. This afternoon, Mayor Stothard at 2 o'clock is going to announce that Omaha is embarking on creating a sister city relationship with Omaha Beach. Of course, as we all know, Omaha Beach is not the name of a town, it was the code name for that beach. But the sister city relationship will be within a consortium of towns around there. And my wife and I are going to go in October back for the signing of the friendship agreement. So anyway, Bruce said, hey, maybe you could put together a little music. So I called my friend Judy, and we're going to have a little medley. Try to keep it upbeat, a little bit poignant at times, and maybe even funny. So if you want to join in at any time, please feel free to do so. So wow, go ahead, Judy. Club started in 1933, and I used to say at press club shows.
Excuse me, the piano must not be plugged in.
Okay, we'll just try that.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. When I actually press club shows, I would always point out to the audience that Bruce Heafy was the only person who had attended every single press club show since the first one in 1957. And now I know that he's the only person who's attended every OBMA since 1933. Those are tough times, Bruce. So here's a song. It's not as easy just to sing it and make it happen, but this is a song we associate with that period. As I say, join in on any of these. Happy days are here again, the skies above are clear again, so let's sing a song of cheer again. Happy days are here again. All together shout it now, there's no one who can doubt it now, so let's tell the world about it now. Happy days are here again. And then into the World War II era. This is a song, of course, the guys, everybody wanted to get the war over with and make it victorious and get back home as soon as possible. We're doing the best we can on the keys. These aren't all my keys, but I'll be seeing you in all the old familiar places that this heart of mine embraces all day through. In that small cafe, the park across the way, the children's carousel, the chestnut tree, the wishing well. I'll be seeing you in every lovely summer's day, and everything's that's bright and gay. I'll always think of you that way. I'll find you in the morning sun, and when the night is new, I'll be looking at the moon, and I'll be seeing you. Sort of got that note. And then, thank you. And then this is an old song. I think somebody named the Civil War. But after every war, it was great to see the guys and gals come back home. You know this one. When Johnny comes marching home again, hurrah, hurrah. Give him a hearty welcome now, hurrah, hurrah. The men will cheer and the boys will shout, the ladies they will all turn out and we'll all feel gay when Johnny comes marching home. For the Jubilee, hurrah, hurrah. We'll give the hero 3 times 3, hurrah, hurrah. The laurel wreath is ready now to place upon his loyal crown, and we'll all feel gay when Johnny comes marching home. We all felt happy. Then, of course, through the Korean War era, just think of all the OBMA meeting through all those years. And then into, of course, Vietnam, our most controversial war, and Bob Dylan kind of spoke to that in his famous song. How many times must a man walk down before you call him a man? How many seas must a white dove sail before she sleeps in the sand? Yes, and how many times must the cannonball fly before they're forever banned? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. At our age, we all think of our yesterdays. We have more yesterdays than we have tomorrows, I guess you could say. But the Beatles, of course, Lennon and McCartney spoke to that with that one word, yesterday. So think of all of our yesterdays and our good ones, mostly good ones. Yesterday, all my troubles seem so far away. Now it looks as though they're here to stay. Oh, I believe in yesterday. Suddenly, I'm not half the man I used to be. There's a shadow hanging over me. Oh, yesterday came suddenly. Why she had to go, I don't know, she wouldn't say. I said something wrong, now I long for yesterday. Yesterday, love was such an easy game to play. Now I need a place to hide away. I believe in yesterday. Louis Armstrong made famous, I guess, more of an aspirational song. You know, every day we get up today and wonder if we're going to hear something else terrible happening in the world. And this was a song about kind of the way the world ought to be. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and for you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Okay, take it, Louis. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, bright blessed days, the dogs say goodnight, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, and also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies crying, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, What a wonderful world. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. This next one is a beautiful religious hymn, and it's one that means something, especially, we all heard it, especially here at Heafy. It means a lot to Bruce and to me too. It's Eagle's Wings, and you know, every famous song has to start somewhere. And do you know the story? This famous hymn that's been translated into 80 languages and sung around the world had its start in 1974 at a funeral of a Western Electric accountant, World War II veteran, at St. Robert's Church. It's 119th and Pacific in Omaha. And why did that happen? Because the man's son was a seminarian, and he was a classmate of Michael Jonkus, the composer. And he calls his friend, he said, Mike, Dad's dying, can you write something for his funeral? He said, well, I'm working on something related to Isaiah 30 and something. Let me see if I can finish it. He finished it at their house, and they did it at this funeral. I was mentioning this to Bruce on his back deck a number of years ago, and he says, we ought to memorialize that. So he sponsored this beautiful memorial at St. Robert's Church. You can go in there and see it. And Father Stillmonk's had about 600 people there, and we had now Father Michael Jonkus many years later, the composer of Eagle's Wings. And a lighter tech, a lot of people call this the Yoo-Hoo song. You know why they call it the Yoo-Hoo song? You dwell in the shelter of the Lord, who abide in his shadow for life. Say to the Lord, my refuge, my rock in whom I trust, and he will raise you up on eagle's wings, bear you on the breath of dawn, make you to shine like the sun, and hold you in the palm of his hand. In the palm of his hand. I love that Omaha connection to that beautiful, beautiful hymn. Well, we think, and you said a lot of the names today, all the many guys, Rudy Teasers, Joe Kulek, and many, many others over 86 years. Pretty amazing. And to think of all the great contributions, all of you and all they have made to Omaha. So this has kind of made us think of this song. Anybody here see my old friend Abraham? Can you tell me where he's gone? He freed a lot of people, but the good, it seems they die young. I just look around and he's gone. Anybody here see my old friend John? Can you tell me where he's gone? He inspired a lot of people, but the good, it seems they die young. I just look around and he's gone. Is there anybody here see my old friend Martin? Can you tell me where he's gone? He helped a lot of people, but the good, it seems they die young. So I just look around and he's gone. And we just look around and they're gone. Bruce asked me to be sure to include something from Elvis. We decided not to do a rock and roll song. This is a pretty one. And it's actually one of his early songs, and it's based on the music from, what is it, Lorelei, I think, Judy. So if you think of this as sort of Bruce's love song to you, even though you'll see. Love me tender, love me sweet, never let me go. You have made my life complete, and I love you so. Love me tender, love me true, all my dreams fulfill. For my dear friends, I love you, and I always will. Love me tender, love me true, all my dreams fulfill. For my old pals, I love you, and I always will. That's from Bruce. So Dan mentioned the great Bohemian Cafe days. I got to go to a few of those, and as Bruce mentioned the other day, one of the great things about Milt is usually there'd be some of his ex-linemen were there, and no matter how many years it had been, Milt could always tell you, their mom and dad's names, where they lived, what the players were doing now, and what was the drink? Slivovitz was passed around, and so I think we don't have the music for Bohemian Cafe, but you all know it. You can help me with this. I don't think I'm right. Dumplings and crowd today at Bohemian Cafe. The draft beer is sparkling, plenty of parking. See you at lunch today. Okay, all right. But in honor and memory of Milt, we need a Husker song. There's no place.
Okay, we're not gonna do YMCA.
That comes next.
Okay, sorry.
Have to have a Husker song. And you guys have been through all the good times and then the recent times. But it looks like it's on the way up, I have to admit. We know it this one. You know this one. There is no place like Nebraska, dear old Nebraska, where the girls are the fairest, the boys are the squarest of any old school that I knew. There is no place like Nebraska, where they're old true blue. We'll all stick together in all kinds of weather, dear old Nebraska, So that attempt at an Akron game, that was really personifying those words, stick together in all kinds of weather. The game didn't even come off. Well, Milt was great. Okay, now we took some liberties with the song we all know well, YMCA, converted it to OBMA, and so borrowed some words. So, we were all young men. We were like Ryan and his buddies at one point. So I'm just going to sing this to how we all think of ourselves as young men, even though we're at Heafy. We know we're not going to be around forever, okay? Young men, there's no need to feel down. I said young men will soon be in the ground. But young men, we run all over town. There's no need to be unhappy, young men. There's a place you can go. I said young men, when you're high or you're low, you can go there. And I'm sure you will find many ways to have a good time. Bum, 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 bum. It's fun to be in the OBMA. It's fun to be in the OBMA. They have everything for us men to enjoy. We can hang out with all of the boys. It's fun to be in the OBMA. It's fun to be in the OBMA. You can see your old pals, you can have a good meal, you can say just whatever you feel. It's the OBMA. All right. All right. Good try. Okay, Bob Devaney? Okay, we just thought of this one, or I thought of it and mentioned it to Judy, and she did a wonderful job of actually writing an arrangement right after the 1970 National Championship. And I was new to Omaha, and I thought, gee, this is great. They win national championships every year. How nice. The press club put on a special show in honor of Devaney, and Bruce, you will remember this, some of you might too. The press club show was always irreverent, so it took the beautiful Handel's Messiah, Hallelujah song, and just kind of redid it to our Messiah, Bob Devaney. Okay, Judy, can we do this? Bob Devaney, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Bob Devaney, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. This was in 4 parts. For the Lord Bob omnipotent winneth. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. For the Lord Bob omnipotent winneth. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. The kingdom of this world is become a kingdom of Big Red and of its fans and of our coach, and he shall win forever and ever. Go Big Red forever, Devaney, hallelujah. Hallelujah. And he shall win forever and ever. Oh, sorry, we got off. Go Big Red. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Go Big Red. Hallelujah. 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 Bob Devaney. Amen. Anyway, thank you, Judy. Sorry I messed it up. Oh boy, that was pretty funny. So we're getting down to the end of our little part here. Very honored to be here, and Judy, gosh, thanks. Couldn't have done this without you. And so just a couple more. We're going to finish with Auld Lang Syne. We're going to adjust it for OBMA. Time to say goodnight. Good night, ladies. Good night, gentlemen. Good night, ladies. We're going to leave us now. Merrily we roll along, roll along, roll along. Merrily we roll along over the deep blue sea. Farewell, ladies. Farewell, gentlemen. Farewell, ladies. We're going to leave us now. All right, for Auld Lang Syne, I want to ask if you would sing along, of course. First time we sing Auld Lang Syne, let's sing Auld Lang Syne. But in the second verse, every time we get to Auld Lang Syne, let's say OBMA. All right. If we had brew here, we'd toast it for OBMA. Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind, should old acquaintance be forgot and Auld Lang Syne, OBMA, for OBMA, my dear, for OBMA, we'll take a cup of kindness yet for OBMA. right, happy to be part of this. Congratulations, you guys. Thank you.
In this book of poems, Bill Musgrave, there must be 20 or 30 of them, I suppose. But I'd like to read the one that I think is the best of all. And he recited this at one of the check things. When I was just a tiny tyke, I liked to trade and barter, especially with marbles. No one was any smarter. I filled my bags and boxes with my vast accumulation and soon became an expert in marble speculation. I'd swap a length of kite string for a variegated sphere until they came to call me a glass ball financier. But all too soon, those childhood joys fade into yesterday, and one moves on to greater trades in markets far away. You have to learn the lingo and all that falderall. Like when you need more money, the term is margin call. You have to know the meaning of hedge and P&E. The stock sold in a wash sale aren't shares of P&G. You have to study charts and graphs and measurements infernal. In something like the racing form they call the Wall Street Journal. For to succeed, one has to read of trends in economics. You turn the pages endlessly and never find the comics. The mail pours in from everywhere, enough to give you trauma, from Amsterdam and Switzerland and banks in the Bahamas, with reams and reams of schemes and dreams, of bank books bursting at the seams, a stock with golden letters gleam, and bonds with coupons one redeems. You have to be an animal in woods or on the range. You have to be a bear or bull and know just when to change. And then you have to search and find some genial, jolly joker who blows cigar smoke in your face and calls himself a broker. He'll spew you facts and figures and the Dow Jones last position, and with a speed too fast to read, he'll figure his commission. You have to have a sense of humor. On that, please be assured. He'll tell you stocks, like women, are common or preferred. I brought into some growth stocks with futures bright portending, but soon they took a downward course with deficit unending. And then there were the blue chips with history's renown, but you kept passing dividends and slowly turned to brown. And then one day, it finally came, my chance to really score. Would take a lot of money, most of all I had and more. I went to see my broker now, that's a guy with charm. I even robbed my piggy bank and mortgaged up the farm. And then I saw my broker, a very helpful fella. He stretched me out on margin as he puffed his panatella. But alas, I lost my class. The stock plunged in a deep crevasse, and creditors with lots of brass by phone and letter did harass. My broker sighed and almost cried, a doggone dirty shame. But it's like playing marbles, Bill, an all or nothing game. I've talked to bulls and I've talked to bears, but if you want to make it big, there's just one more you have to know, the dumb and greedy pig. I think that's one of the best ones he ever wrote. And it was to honor Bruce Heafy.
No.